But when it came to dark-skinned women, error rates were up to 35%. And by the way, these are not you and me kind of women who nobody knows. It's popular women like Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, Serena Williams. These facial recognition systems were labeling them as men. Before we started shooting, I asked someone here if they've ever talked to ChatGPT in Kikuyu. Not the typing and prompting. There's that feature where you talk and it talks back. I actually tried it and I spoke Kimasai to it. And it spoke to me back in French. Online grooming. You find that young women and girls are online talking to people and it's like, send me your picture, the girl is being groomed and then all of a sudden send me a picture because we are friends, nini. And then that leads to blackmail. Hi everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of The Privacy Sphere. This one is a special one for all the women out there. Happy International Women's Day! The themes we had this year from the United Nations was rights, justice, action for all women and girls. And the widely used campaign theme is Give to Gain, which is a call to contribute, support, and gain advancement for women and girls. How do we do this? We call out stereotypes, we challenge discrimination, we question biases, and we celebrate our success as women. So, looking at these two themes, I was just trying to think around it and how it relates into privacy. And it dawned onto me that privacy is, you have the right to privacy in the Constitution, and rights are not advanced by themselves. People have to do. Lazima uende kwa ground, make an action, contribute, do for these rights to be realized, essentially. And in the world of privacy, especially for women, this has never been more true. When we talk about privacy in general, people usually focus on the governance, the frameworks, the laws, but it's really very simple. Privacy is about you and me. Privacy is about our dignity. And for women and girls, privacy can be protection from online harassment, protection of our health data, protection from surveillance and exploitation, and protection from algorithms which are biased to women. Actually, let's just jump into one of these examples. Let's not think too much. Let's talk about facial recognition systems. Facial recognition is a software like the way you open your iPhone, right? And nowadays, we are having this being used in many sectors. Health sector, M-Pesa, your face is your password nowadays. And facial recognition is beginning to come into a lot of facets of our lives that affect us every day. Crime, fighting, finance, security. Nowadays, HR even use facial recognition, so you don't even know if you're going to be hired or not. And when we talk about facial recognition systems, they usually misidentify women. So the most cited examples of this bias comes from research done by Dr. Joy Bolamwini. She did a gender shade study that revealed facial recognition systems that major tech companies had error rates below 1% for white men. But when it came to dark-skinned women, error rates were up to 35%. And by the way, these are not you and me kind of women who nobody knows. It's popular women like Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, Serena Williams. These facial recognition systems were labeling them as men.
Michelle Obama, unabashed and unafraid to wear her crown of history, yet her crown seems a mystery to systems unsure of her hair. A wig, a bouffant, a toupee, maybe not. Are there no words for our braids and our locks? Does relaxed hair and sunny skin make Oprah the first lady? Even for her face well known, some algorithms fault her, echoing sentiments that strong women are men. We laugh, celebrating the successes of our sisters with serena smiles. No label is worthy of our beauty.
Can you imagine? So the systems that are being created, can they really see us the way we are? Because essentially, if a system miscategorizes you, so when in none. So why is this happening? Let's look at the why. Remember, algorithms, these facial recognition systems usually work based on algorithms. Algorithms work based on the data sets that they're given. Now, most of these systems are trained from data sets, first of all, in the West, and the data sets that they get are primarily men. As a consequence, you're already having your gender is not adequately represented. And even when we do have women's data sets, it's lighter skinned women. So where does that leave minorities and African women? So the consequence, we get false identification by the surveillance systems, risks of wrongful arrest, because remember, other countries, like if you do some research, I found in the States, there have been many cases of wrongful arrest based on AI algorithms misidentifying Black people, especially Black women. So this research that was done by Joy Bolamwini, it sparked global debates about AI ethics, surveillance, and even made these big tech companies who owned these softwares to tweak their algorithms. So you see, she gave and we gained. Fuck it. So now that we're on the topic of AI, we've looked at the facial recognition. We have voice recognition systems. Before we started shooting, I asked someone here if they've ever talked to ChatGPT in Kikuyu. Not the typing and prompting. There's that feature where you talk and it talks back. I actually tried it and I spoke Kimasai to it. And it spoke to me back in French. And it wasn't even understanding what I was saying. So when we talk about voice recognition systems, let alone the fact that they are trained, again, with the West perspective in mind, they are not trained to recognize our accents. Mtu akishema, it wouldn't even know what you're saying. There's this episode in Big Bang Theory, that guy who's called Bowie. He has that speech impediment. He was trying to talk to Siri, and he was saying Siwi, and it wasn't understanding him. So that is even in an aspect of a person with a speech impediment. Now, us Africans, with our dialects and our ethnicities, we're left behind. UN Women wrote an article in 5th February 2025 on how voice recognition systems are struggling with women's voices. Why? Same reason with regards to the facial recognition systems. The training data that is used. Because AI learns from historical data. And if the historical data that is put in does not represent certain ethnicities, certain genders, of course it's going to be biased. It's going to reproduce that flaw. What do they say? Garbage in, garbage out? As a result, these systems perform worse for women and worse for minorities. Another why, women are significantly underrepresented in the AI workforce. So if you are looking for a sign, if you have a knack for AI, this is your sign. Take it up. We need more women in this space that will make sure that the systems and technologies that are being developed have women in mind. So, the article also notes that women represent around 20 to 22% of the AI workforce. Yani hata hatujafika half, not even 50%, 20 to 22%. So this means there is a gap there for us to fill as women to ensure that our needs are represented. All right? So if you are waiting for a sign, this is your sign. This is your sign. And as a consequence, system design has blind spots for women. We are overlooked. Our causes are overlooked. And the data sets that are being used to train these systems are biased. Another example, the second example, digital identity and inclusion. We've seen this move in many countries to digitize their identity system so that you as a citizen, you can get all of the services online. Government services, healthcare, finance. The Kenyan example, of course, is Huduma Namba. But now I want to take you back to your ushago. Let's talk about back there where there are women who don't even have ID numbers, ID cards. There are women who don't even have birth certificates. So if you are invisible in the physical database for the country, what about when we start migrating to the digital one? Many of these women back in our villages, they even work in the informal economy. There are no records. Ule mama mboga wa nyumbani, utaenda mahali umwambie, "Ebu show me your work history." It doesn't work like that. So when we're migrating our whole identity system essentially to a digital system, what happens to the ones who are not even recognized? So we can clearly see that innovation has to move hand in hand with rights, protections, and inclusion. And like we said, these systems don't change themselves. It's a you and me job. We have to go to the ground and do something to effect this change. And one of the women that I found in my research is a lady by the name Nanjala Nyabola. She challenges how surveillance technologies and digital identity systems affect your democracy and your privacy. My favorite thing about her work, by the way, she coordinated the translation of key technical digital terms into Kiswahili. I'll put that link by the way there. You tell me if you can know some of those words. For example, ebu guess what AI is called in Kiswahili? Anyone? Can anyone guess? No idea. It's called akili unde or utafiti wa akili unde. I found that funny. I'll put a link there. You go check out those names. Another lady I found interesting was Dr. Nanjira Sambuli. She's a strong voice globally, and she's a Kenyan, by the way. All of these ladies are Kenyans, so ebu mchangamke. She's a strong voice globally who advocates for digital inclusion and represents African perspectives in digital policy. She ensures that women are not left behind when the digital governance frameworks are being progressed. She makes sure we're represented. There's another lady in finance. She's called Hilda Mora, and she focuses on financial inclusion. She founded Pezesha, which is a digital financial platform that connects SMEs with affordable capital. And finally, I'd like to give a shout out to my girl, Mariam Jamal. She worked really, really hard. She was one of the key people in the Huduma number case, and she's one who made sure that the powers that be understand that inclusion is not an option. So now let's go to the third example. And this one is a tricky one. Online GBV and digital safety, online gender-based violence. Sadly, technology is supposed to promote inclusivity, but more often than not, it reproduces that inequality that it's supposed to solve, ideally. A research was done by Kenya ICT Network, KICTANET, and it revealed that digital platforms are being used, or rather they are being used to exploit, and they're being weaponized against women and girls. How does this happen? Online grooming. You find that young women and girls are online talking to people, and it's like, send me your picture, the girl is being groomed, and then all of a sudden send me a picture because we are friends, nini. And then that leads to blackmail. Another way women are being exploited through online platforms is trafficking schemes. And of course, the most rampant one, the leaking or non-consensual sharing of intimate images. I think we all have that one reference in mind. Because by the way, funny enough, this research was done in October 2025, and look at what happened in February 2026 with the Russian guy. Talk about foreshadowing. So clearly we can see where we're going with this conversation, yeah? When we do not include women in the development of this tech, such gaps are the things that emerge. Because that whole scenario was a reminder that technology is not neutral. So the systems that are built reflect the opinions or the standpoints of the people who built them. So if we're seeing gaps, and gaps are affecting women, clearly we need to be more included when it comes to technology. But at least there's another side of the story. People are trying to make some change, All is not lost. Malkia John is a Kenyan engineer and a feminist tech advocate. And her work focuses on using AI data science, and digital tools to strengthen gender-based violence response systems. She's doing a really good job, by the way. I really liked reading about what she was doing. My favorite part of her work is she founded Sauti Salama, and she supported over 200 survivors and trained 500 plus women and girls in digital security. So if your calling is in creating awareness, hop on that, TikTok video. Share how you keep yourself online safe. Share how you keep yourself safe online. Give tips on how women can just safeguard themselves, because the technology space clearly is biased against us. The fourth example is in reproduction and health data. In 2014, Apple launched their Apple Health. It's the little segment of health on Apple. And it had trackers for everything, your sodium intake, your copper intake, but it lacked menstrual health tracking. As a result, a lot of women were left to the third-party apps that we all use, where you find that for it to even track the things that you actually need, you have to pay. And you don't even know who they share this data with. It even has your location, it tracks your location, it has your search history, And this became a very good example of how male-dominated design teams were creating products that didn't have women in mind. So these conversations are the ones that actually give us these apps that are actually working. Because of such conversations, Apple, revised their features, and now at least we have that aspect there. Luckily, we have initiatives like African Women in Digital Health. This is an initiative that works to increase women leadership in health tech. By the way, they even have, they're a very good community with mentorship programs. So in case you are interested in tech in the health sector, look them up. And finally, this was the most interesting one that I thought, honestly, because it's car safety systems. Have you ever thought the way the car is designed? Because of course, airbags will be deployed. There's the certain level of where the steering wheel is. I don't know the science to it. But have you ever thought about who is affected more? Because our physiques are different, male and female physiques. And for ages, for the longest time, car safety systems were designed with the average male body in mind. This is like even from the 1970s. They used a dummy called Hybrid 3 dummy. This dummy looks like a 5'9" guy, 77 point something kgs, to test car crashes. So you would find in the event a car crashes and the driver was female, they're 73% more likely to be seriously injured and 17% more likely to die. Such a small thing, and it's become something that is life or death. So until very recently, they tried to scale down, not make actual dummies for women, but they scaled down the previously Hybrid 3 dummies for men. And then it ended up looking like a 12-year-old girl. So still, there was no accurate representation. And this was also supported by the fact that we didn't have legal requirements that said, in this jurisdiction, you have to have a dummy that looks like a woman. But we are changing that. I saw one country, I think it's Singapore, who passed that rule that in car tests that you need to have a dummy representing a female aesthetic. And we don't manufacture our own cars, so we are subject to the legislation or the practices, industry practices from where our imports come from. So again, if you're interested in manufacturing car spaces, you're a car enthusiast, and you're a woman, we need you. We need your knowledge and your expertise. So from those few examples, at least we can see that technology is only as good as the data that it is fed and the perspectives that are used to build it. When women are excluded from design, we are misidentified, our needs are ignored, we suffer high risks, and our privacy is violated. That's why the themes that were in 2026 really mattered in technology. Each of these women we've discussed previously gave something. They gave their expertise, their courage, their voice. So I'm just going to ask you, are you willing to challenge a bias this year? Are you willing to contribute your knowledge, your time, your expertise, your voice to mentor a woman to push for change? And of course, I don't want we have to lead by example, yeah? And funny enough, when I was preparing for this episode, a friend of mine asked me, okay, these are really good findings that you found, but what are you doing, about it? And it made me flashback kidogo because I think I can say back when I was growing up, I was data. Coming from a community that overlooks women's voices, stifles women's voices, you learn from a young age that there are rooms you cannot speak up in. There are things you cannot say. But of course, there are exceptions, right? And seeing that, it was very heavy for me to carry because I was lucky enough to come from a family that valued education. So I had opinions and big ones, and I could voice them in the comfort of my home. But every time I voiced them outside of my home, I always got huyu ako na kirere, huyu anaongea sana, And from there, I felt like that was my responsibility to talk to my fellow girls and women and tell them about their rights, to talk and tell them about opportunities that are out here for them to explore, to talk and tell them about all of these chances that they have, this whole world that is out there that they've not imagined. And one by one, more of them talked and talked some more. And the kiherehere spread. And looking at, there's an institution that I really love that is close to my heart back in Kajiado County. It's called Helga Nanana. It's a rescue center for young girls who've escaped early marriages, FGM, and looking at those girls become enthusiastic about coding, about tech, about data, about their dreams. It's all worth it. It is all worth it. So as we mark International Women's Day, I leave you with this thought. Progress doesn't happen by accident. It happens because someone decided to give something of themselves so that other people can gain. And my question now becomes, what will you give so that the next generation of young girls and women gains from you? Happy International Women's Day.